So does that make gold a good investment? I mean, gold mining a good investment for you?
For the first time in my life, I bought some gold because I think it's a good hedge.
It's not sensible not to own gold. Now, it depends on the amount of gold. But if you don't own, I don't know, 10% if you don't have that, and then depends on the world, then there's no sensible reason other than you don't know history and you don't know the economics of it.
So we all know billionaires know how to make money, but more importantly, they know how to protect their wealth. They understand the market and they know how to hedge against it. Today, more and more billionaires are getting into gold. My name is Nelson from Guildhall Wealth Management, and here are 4 billionaires who've invested in gold and the reason behind their decision. Enjoy.
The term gold bug has a certain, perception attached to it. I look at gold like any other asset. There's a reason I'm buying gold, and the gold happens to be my single biggest asset in my portfolio, is because I believe it's going a lot higher. But there will be a time to sell it, and I suspect that time. I can't tell you what that price is going to be. I've never predicted the price. I've always suggested that gold's going a lot higher, and I will know when it's time to sell by the way it's behaving at the time and what's going on at the time when I'm selling. And I think what's going to happen is it'll be at some level, and who knows what that level will be, and it's going to have a parabolic spike caused by some event or some loss of confidence, major loss of confidence, like say US dollar crisis would be a perfect example. And that will cause gold to just go through the roof, and then everybody will want to own it, everybody. And that's when you want to sell it. And I don't think we're even close to that yet. It's going to happen though, and I will sell my gold. And I'll use that money to buy other hard asset categories, but gold will probably have a much greater run than some of the other hard assets because it's also a currency.
I think the stock market is overvalued. This is my feeling. And
global stock markets?
Yes. And I feel that another crash somehow will happen. That's why I'm in gold, and I'm in gold above my ratio. Like I'm 50% of my net worth is in gold, so it's a very high percentage. So.
Do you not think you should divert? Forgive me.
No, because my starting point was very low, so I created some value, so I'm fine. It was not half of my net worth when I started.
What do you think gold can go to in terms of price?
In my opinion, it should go back to the 5 years ago, the 1700, 1800. It should go there.
Do you think it can achieve that?
Because you have India and you have China, and they're big consumers, and they will not stop to consume. Because people also tend to go to gold when there are crises, and we are like full of crises right now. Look at the Middle East, look at all the rest of the world. So Iran and Mr. Trump doesn't help. So
the commodities that you've mentioned there in terms of wanting to invest, is that just a very longer term view in terms of moving into commodities?
No. I'm one of the largest investors in gold mines in the world right now. As a family, my family is the largest. So I mean, I had to convince my mom, in the beginning, but it's been a very good investment for me. I recently sold a portion of my Evolution shares because I will reinvest now in Latin America and Eastern Europe. I found out something very peculiar about this gold mining issues. And it's a funny one, is that I found out that there are no businessmen on the boards of these companies, mostly miners and bankers.
And they believe that the price will always go up?
No, it's a businessman has a touch, as a commercial touch. He has some vision and some imagination that he brings to a board like that. If you have only miners and bankers...
Gold is very much, gold is a currency. Throughout the history, I won't go on, let's say, on length, but money was like a check in a checkbook, and what you would do is you get your gold, and gold was a medium. So gold is one of the currencies. So we have dollars, we have euros, we have yen, and we have gold. And if you get into a situation where there's an alternative, and in this world where we're looking at what are the alternatives, and the best alternative becomes clearly one thing, something like gold, there becomes a risk of that. Now, it doesn't have a capacity The capacity of moving money into gold in a large number is extremely limited. So the players in the world that I have contact with who move that money really don't view gold as an effective alternative. But it could be a barometer, and it is an alternative for smaller amounts of money. And if it,
Do you own gold?
Oh yeah, I do. I think anybody. Let's be clear that I think anybody who doesn't have any, there's no sensible reason not to have some. If you're going to own a currency, if you don't, it's not sensible not to own gold. Now it depends on the amount of gold, but if you don't own, I don't know, 10% if you don't have that, and then depends on the world, then there's no sensible reason other than you don't know history and you don't know the economics of it. But cash. So cash, it's an alternative. View it in terms of an alternative form of cash, and also view it as a hedge against what the other parts of your portfolio are, because there's traditional financial assets. And so in that context, as a diversifier, as a source of that, there should be a piece of that in gold, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I mentioned the one thing that the gold guy didn't mention is the fact that the amount of capital being put into new gold mines is almost non-existent, and all the money is being used to buy up rivals. Go back to supply and demand. The supply is shrinking, and that's going to have a positive impact on price.
So does that make gold a good investment? I mean, gold mining a good investment for you?
For the first time in my life, I bought some gold because I think it's a good hedge.